Hey everybody, welcome to the channel. We're using a different camera today, but that's because my main camera is otherwise engaged. Do you want to see? Well, it's the whole point of the video, so let's see. It's hooked up to this bad boy. This is the DJI RS4 Pro. And I also have another goodie that they sent me that we're going to try out as well. So there's a lot of things that come in the box with this one, but we're just going to focus on the big ones. So the DJI RS4 Pro comes with everything that the RS4 comes with. So that obviously includes the gimbal, there's a battery grip, the extend grip / tripod, and a bunch of other accessories. Now with the Pro, you're going to get a whole lot more, and that includes a carrying case for all those accessories, a briefcase handle so you can hold the gimbal more from the top, DJI's Raven Eye image transmitter, and their Focus Pro motor with mounting kit. The RS4 Pro is capable of handling a 10-pound payload, so you can put some hefty gear on there before you start to strain the motors, which actually have 20% more torque than the previous model. It has a 1.8-inch full-color touchscreen that has a lot of really fun features that we're going to get into. Underneath the touchscreen, you've got a joystick that can handle the full range of the gimbal, and beside that, you have a mode and record button. Now, you can actually hook the gimbal up to your camera via Bluetooth. That is, if your camera can do it, and if it can do it, fantastic, because then all you have to do is hit that button, and then you're recording rather than having to go up to the top of the camera and do it. The mode button can be virtually anything you want. You go into the menu and you can actually set what it does. It can take a picture, it can reset the setting, it can do anything that's in the options. The joystick can even be the zoom for the camera as well. All you have to do is flick the little switch on the side up from the joystick mode, and now you've got zoom control. On the right side of the gimbal, just above the power button, you're going to see another switch, and that actually sets what range you can actually control your gimbal with. So it can actually make it so it can just go left, right, up, and down. And this is especially important around the following feature because it's going to affect what the motors actually can do. You might just be able to go vertical and horizontal. You might be able to tilt. You might be able to rotate, all those different things. On either side of the gimbal, you're going to see these connectors, and they're for different peripherals that I don't actually have right now. I'm not actually sure what they'd be for, but you can actually use these to mount a separate phone mount onto it, and your phone's gonna have a really interesting role to play in all this, which we'll get into in a bit. On the front of the gimbal, you're gonna see a wheel that has a couple of functions that we'll get into, as well as a trigger, and the trigger has a lot of functions that you can program into it as well. You just have to go in the settings and choose what each thing does. So you can do a single, a double, or a triple click. Where it was defaulted when I turned it on, the first one was for tracking, which we'll talk about. I know I'm teasing a lot of stuff, and I'm sorry, but it'll pay off. 2 clicks is to recenter the camera, and 3 clicks actually turns it into selfie mode. And this is that selfie mode right now. I'm not using a very good microphone right now. I'm just kind of demonstrating the whole idea of using this. It's a very heavy setup though. That's the only big problem with this. The gimbal itself is very heavy, the camera's very heavy, and everything that comes with it. Heavy. So if you've ever used a gimbal like this, setup is a little bit tedious, but it's not very hard. First, you mount the camera to one of the quick release plates. I'm using one of the longer ones because it supports the longer lens that I have. Then you slide it into place and lock it. And on the RS4 Pro, I really like the locking mechanisms that they have. They're really easy to manage, just like switches. And then you're gonna notice that the gimbal is horribly out of balance unless you're the luckiest human being alive. So what you do next is you actually have to adjust at each axis, and you'll see locking mechanisms as well as measurements along the body of the gimbal. And all you have to do is unlock those to loosen them, and then just slide them in the direction that you need to compensate for, and you just keep making those adjustments until the camera actually hangs down and sits balanced all by itself. Now the reason you're doing that is if it's off balance, it's actually going to make the motors work a whole lot harder, and this gimbal, as well as a lot of other gimbals, they're just going to shut off if that's the case. On the gimbal, you can pre-program some movements. You can pre-program for a panorama photo, and you can actually select all of the different parameters to say what kind of photo you're going to take. It could be one really large one with multiple sections in front of you. You can do 180 degrees. It can even do a VR 720. You can also set up tracking, so you would set a start point and an end point. It would actually move the camera automatically to that position. And then you have the time lapse, which does essentially the same thing, except it breaks it up to line up with your time lapse. So it would move a little bit, take the photo, move a little bit, take the photo, move a little bit, take the photo. So you had one big smooth motion that was actually a time lapse. And you can also control this on your phone, which now is as good a time as any to talk about that. In DJI's Ronin app, you can connect your phone directly to the gimbal itself, and from there you can change almost every one of the settings that you can change on the gimbal directly from your phone. This is really important if you have the gimbal set up on a tripod or something that's away from you and you're not trying to touch it. Also on the camera, you have a virtual joystick, so you can actually control this remotely. You can right now see the camera behind me, so if I just go up like this, see the camera going up, going down, going off to the side. Pointed over at us. all from the phone, no problem. Then you have something that's really cool. You have Force Mobile, and what Force Mobile does, it actually takes the gyroscope of your phone and turns that into the controls. So then all you need to do is just tilt the phone around and the gimbal's gonna move the way your hand does. It's the closest I'm ever gonna have to a robot friend. Please, DJI, don't take this away from me. And if you want to control the RS4 Pro remotely, but you don't want to use your phone, you can actually hook up to a gaming controller. Through the app, you can connect, it says, a PS4 or Xbox controller. That's just what it says. I don't know if a PS5 controller would also work, but just go with that for now, at least until it's been out for a while and the FAQs answer that question for us. And then from there, you can actually use the control sticks and the buttons to control the entire gimbal. The app actually has focus control, and that actually controls the Focus Pro motor that comes with the Pro model. And what the Focus Pro actually does is it mounts onto the camera right next to your lens, and it has a little gear on it, and you push that up against the textured part of your actual focus ring, and then when you turn the gear turns the focus and sets it the way you want to. Now, if the Focus Pro motor's having a hard time kind of gripping onto your lens, there's actually a gear strap that comes in the kit that you wrap around the lens, and it would have a really good grip on that. It's actually DJI's preferred method of using the Focus Pro motor, but I found it with my Rokinon lens to work just as well. Now, if you're using the gimbal handheld, no problem, you can still utilize the Focus Pro motor. That little adjustment wheel that I talked about on the front of the gimbal, just adjust that and that moves the motor for you. Now, another one of the RS4 Pro's accessories that you can connect to the app is actually the Raven Eye image transmitter. So the transmitter can be tucked away underneath the gimbal. There's actually a cold shoe mount there. Now you're gonna find it's gonna be kind of hard to push it in there, but be gentle yet firm and you'll be able to get it in no problem. From there, you connect your camera's HDMI to the HDMI input of the Raven Eye. And once you've connected it to the app, you'll actually be able to use your phone as a monitor for the camera. But it's also a whole lot more than that. You're still gonna have all the controls you had otherwise. You'll be able to use the virtual joystick, you'll be able to use the Force Mobile, but you'll also be able to use a special auto tracking. All you need to do is draw a little box over the subject that you're trying to follow. In this case, I was trying to follow myself. And then as you walk around, it's going to follow you around like an AI smart webcam. And the last accessory that I want to talk about that was actually sent to me by DJI is their LiDAR. And what the LiDAR actually does, it actually detects depth. So whatever it's focused on, it knows exactly how far away it is from the camera. And what it does for the DJI RS4 Pro is actually automates a lot of the stuff that we've been talking about already. So the first thing you're able to do is once you've actually connected the LiDAR to the gimbal, you can actually just swipe right on that touch screen and you'll actually be able to see what it sees. And right away, you'll see a little white box chasing around whatever the subject is. It's actually locking onto it, and you'll actually see that it's calculating the distance on the bottom left corner. Now, we talked about tracking earlier, and all you got to do is hit that trigger one time, and that white box around the subject is going to turn green, and that's going to turn the tracking on just like it did on the phone. But the other thing the LiDAR is going to do with all that depth information is it's actually going to hook up with the focus motor, and it's going to autofocus for you. Now, you may already have a high-end lens that does autofocus and all that, and you don't necessarily need the Focus Pro motor. Now, the lens that I have is a fixed lens with no autofocus. It saves me a little bit of money, don't judge. And I found it to be an invaluable tool while I've had it. Now, if you wanted to buy the LiDAR, that's going to cost you $699 US. It is not a cheap product. And the question would be, is this something you really need to make this gimbal great? And the answer is no. It certainly automates a lot of things and it would make life a lot easier for you. But like I mentioned, you can do a lot of that on your phone via the app. And while the LiDAR is going to be more accurate than your eye ever could be, the phone should be more than sufficient for you. Now, that also depends on who's watching this video right now. If you're somebody who has a production company and you're shooting commercials and music videos and all that kind of stuff, you probably want to get in on all the cool accessories for this thing because every single one of them is going to help you and it's an investment towards your business. But if you're just an everyday content creator who just needs that extra heavy duty gimbal to be able to carry their camera around, I'd say you spent enough money on the gimbal itself. And as for the gimbal, don't say you weren't warned, the price is a doozy. It's $1,099 US. And I know that that sounds like a lot, and it certainly is, but for everything this particular gimbal can do and everything that it actually comes with, it's actually a lot more value than you think. The Focus Pro motor actually comes in at $149 US on DJI's website, and the Raven Eye image transmitter is actually $159. Now, if that is too much for you, there are cheaper options for you. There is another version of the RS4 Pro kit. I don't actually know what the difference is. I only have the price list that they provided me, but that would cost you $869 US. And then the RS4, the base version, even though it's the same gimbal, it's just missing some of those accessories. They have packages that are $719 and $549 US. So let me know what you think about the DJI RS4 Pro and everything that it can do down in the comments. While you're down there, make sure to hit the like and subscribe, hit the notification bell so you know when I got new videos coming out. And if you want to hang out with me, that's great. I don't really have anything comparable to this that I've actually reviewed, so just check out one of these videos, a couple that are suggested for you. I'm sure you'll enjoy them. If you made it this far, I talk like this essentially just about something else. And until next time, my friends, let's get to work.